today's going to be a different review. Basically, we're going to rank the Star Trek franchise. I believe we've gone from the first one to Undiscovered Country. Is that correct?
It's the original series movies.
In your opinion, I count the 7th as part of the original series, but that's just me.
Well, yeah. But,
because I mean what we'll call which many people call the OST, original Star Trek movie franchise, and we're ranking from 6 to 1.
Right, 6 to 1.
From the worst to the best. So at number 6, what do you have for number 6 as the worst?
That's obviously the 4th one.
The 4th one. You have many Star Trekkers' favorite movie as the worst. Is this correct?
Who?
Many Trekkers love the 4th one, which is, by the way, the one where they travel through time.
Voyage home.
The Voyage Home. So you rank that as the worst in your opinion?
It's the worst.
Why is it your worst?
I hate this movie.
Why is that?
I can't hate it enough! I hate it as much as I love any of the other Star Trek movies with the original cast.
Okay. What's the? Give me the reason. Is it?
Okay. Well, it started out with they start out on a Klingon vessel, and of course we get hammered with one joke through the whole movie that Chekhov makes.
What's that joke?
He can't say Wessel. He says Wessel. He can't say vessel. He says Wessel. And you know what? That was not funny when it was on the series. Why in the world would you do it over and over again in the movie? That's just one thing. The plot, while they're aboard a Klingon ship, they could basically be considered a whale terrorist. If they were humans, that's what we would call them. And these whale terrorists threaten to destroy the Earth.
Eco-terrorists.
No, it's the whales. Because the whales don't like us for some reason. Maybe we can't really understand why, because we can't communicate with them. So it must be with that certain species of whales extinct or something. Oh, whatever. It'd be like going back in time, comparing it to DeLorean. That would be like your uncle's Ford Pinto. You know, just because I mean that's the other thing. It's a time thing. It's this time machine thing, which we don't have a time machine.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When you watched the original series, did you like the time episodes or did you not like the time episodes?
Really has nothing to do with that. It has to do with that we use the time machine, or use the time traveling thing as a quick solution to this whale problem.
Right.
So, okay, we're going to go back and get some other whales so we can appease the whale. Because we think that's what see, they don't even know. They don't even know that's the problem.
Right.
They just sit there and go, well, they're mad because there's no whales. That's why they're going to go get some whales, okay? Well, where's the last time they had whales? Well, back years ago. And so then they get in this Klingon vessel. Like I said, it's like your uncle's Ford Pinto versus the DeLorean time machine.
Right.
And then we're going to hope we hit a time that, I mean, you know, dude.
Okay. I see. Those are fair.
I'm a few more things here. Okay, just a few more things here.
All right.
Now, let's talk what is good in this movie.
Okay.
Now, Leonard Nimoy was funny in this.
Right.
That was redeemable. I loved. He was funny.
Yeah.
But in his defense, he was one of 3 people that had their hands on this movie.
Yeah.
So he probably wrote all his dialogue. And the other 2 guys sat there and fought over what they were going to do with the rest of the movie. I guess. I don't know.
There's a lot of stories about that in our talk, but I didn't want to just dive into that one, but since we're here...
Well, you just asked me what the worst one was.
And I'm totally shocked. And the reason is because most
totally shocked.
well, I am because most Trekkers, regardless, because I admit, from my viewpoint, the story is rather quite silly, but it's a fictional story.
Well, it's not just that. It's
and it also to the
so
okay. Well, I mean, for people who don't know, okay, so you had number 2, 3, and 4 were a trilogy pack, right? It was the Genesis trilogy, so you could literally put them in one book, and that would be the Genesis story.
Yeah,
right?
Genesis story. Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, this completes the Genesis story. Now they go through the time traveling thing, and I think as a homage to the show, because there was probably 3 major episodes that dealt with time travel that were really popular. The time travel episodes are probably the most popular of the OST, right? Most of them are.
No, actually, the alternate reality one is probably more.
Yeah, but some people popular. Are you talking about the one with Joan Collins?
No, that is probably the most.
Right, that's popular. A very popular one.
But the most, I mean, well, okay, go ahead. Yeah,
but I mean,
that's probably the most.
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying. I mean, basically, they want to give a little homage to that. Granted, but here's another thing, like you were talking about the time. The guy who wrote the time travel movie with H.G. Wells, Time After Time, he helped in making this script. And so some of the scenes that you see were some scenes that were cut out from Time After Time. A lot of people don't know about that.
Which further tells me why this is not a good movie.
All right, number 2, the female lead in this was to be played by Eddie Murphy.
Was he going to be in dress?
He was to play, and so they actually hired also the Beverly Hills Cop writer to help with writing this as well. So there was a lot of writers involved in this, but Leonard Nimoy did sit down with Bennett, who was a big part in making these franchises, and this was, I think, Bennett's last one that they did together. But I mean, one thing is they had already learned that they did not, by this time they had already learned that they didn't want any input from Gene Roddenberry because they had so much trouble with him from the motion picture.
Right.
So they had separated themselves from that, but Leonard Nimoy had these great ideas because he directed the 3rd one. This was the 4th one. He was going to direct that one. So he had a lot of ideas, and they did a lot. Here's what I'll say about the film is great special effects. It's probably one of the best of the special effects of that time. All right, let me ask you a question. Let me tell you how good the special effects are. Are the whales real or not?
I don't think you get a good enough look at them.
All right, the whales are actually several different miniatures, and there's also, they had a full scale.
Yeah.
Now, whether they had 1 or 2 or no. Let's put it this way. They were so realistic that the whales' rights movement was so concerned that they had captured the whales and that they were being acted upon out of their thing, that they had to bring the whale people in to show that they weren't real whales. That's how realistic the whales were. Right. Now, there is, when they do the parking, because that's actually a parking lot, the last scene,
right,
because they ran out of budget money, so they're out spraying water on everybody in the parking lot. Basically, that, well, there's more to it than just that.
Proven to me that more and more, this is just crap fest.
Well, I'm saying the ending part is one I struggled with because it was cheaply done, but I can't blame them for a budget because you can still tell a good story with a B. Budget. I mean, Roger Corman does it all the time.
Yeah.
And so, I can't grant that, but like I said, I am surprised. Like I said, the reason why I don't rank it as the worst, because as silly as the story is, here's one of the reasons. It is the funniest of the series, number 1. Of the series, I think it is the most comedic of the series. Number 2, for the first time, the crew, besides Bones, Shatner's, and Leonard Nimoy's character, have something to do. Like Scotty Scotty has something to do. Chekhov has something to do. Uhura has something to do. And Sulu has something to do. And in San Francisco, I'm surprised he's not there to pick up men, but he's not. But regardless of that would have been a funny scene. But regardless of that, they got something to do. And that, to me, right there, as silly as the story is, and whatever you could say, a giant log in space needs wells to communicate with it. As silly as that story is, because of the entertainment factor and that it looks like a movie, because some of these, we'll get into it, don't look like a movie, they look more like a TV show. Because it looks like a movie and feels like a movie, I kind of give them a pass on the silliness. You know what I'm saying? I kind of give them, like, they were trying to do something different, and I give them a pass on that.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I think it looked like a TV movie.
You really think?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Just at the end, maybe.
No. Because that's what I'm saying. It is the kind of things they used.
Right.
I mean, all through the movie they were doing a lot of things, a lot of filler stuff.
Yeah.
Like driving around with the truck. That's filler stuff. That literally, I could hear the Mystery Science Theater guys talking about that. They'd be sitting there going, "Yeah, this is worth watching."
I am.
It's just.
I was so shocked. Okay, a little bit too. I want to add to that. Let me ask you a question. If Eddie Murphy was in it, would it help the film out if he got to play his role?
It would have been weird.
It would have been weird too, and I think too when he saw the script, because he ended up doing. Here's the whole thing was, too, if he's playing like an Earth, because I think Murphy was thinking, I'm gonna get to play like be on a Starfleet or something. Why am I just this guy having a bunch of wells? I ain't going for that. Charlie, tell him no, I ain't doing that. And so Charlie's like, Eddie ain't gonna do that. It ain't gonna be that way. And so they, wherever he passes, I'm gonna do the Golden Child.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't get no starship, but at least it's gonna be a peg sitting there gonna have me a bunch of wells. I don't even like wells. So Eddie Murphy not helping out. Okay. All right. On that note, since you picked your worst, here's my worst, and I'll give you my reason behind it. And this is a shame because I hate when a movie has such great potential and ideas like this one that it will fail. Really, there's this story. There's nothing wrong with the story, but it really, it was the way it was presented. It just, I want to use a different term, but presented is fine. The way this story is handled was just, it felt so hurried. And like I said, this is where I can say, yeah, it did not feel like a movie. And that's because there's so much things going on and it could have been executed better. That's the word it could have been executed so better. We're talking about Star Trek 3. You waste Christopher Lloyd. The opportunity to show more emotion with the losing of Kirk's son is not conveyed strong enough. I think a lot of thing too is people don't know that the Vulcan character is actually Kirstie Alley's character because it was supposed to be a main character to the Genesis story. She's played by somebody else. That hurts it. And then also on top of that, you lose the Enterprise and you're not able to execute a motion of a ship that you created in motion with the first one. So my question is, you had some good things there, but my least thing, the thing that just it pains me to watch that first hour of DeForest Kelley trying to act like Spock. That first 30 minutes of that is so painful. After you get past that, it's fine, but then, man, by that time, but I want some emotion when Kirk's son dies. I want Christopher Lloyd to be that villain he was, because he also was the villain in The Legend of the Long Ranger. And people, he's probably the best part of The Legend of the Long Ranger. The only reason why that film failed was because of the marketing technique. when they took the mask away from the original Long Ranger, Clayton Moore, it gave people a bad mouth. They did not want to see it. Every movie reviewer and critic band together to make that film not succeed. And some of Christopher Lloyd's best acting is in that original one. And I'm so happy that he survived, but he had Taxi to go on. And a lot of people don't know, they thought that Andy Kaufman, of course, was going to be the big one that comes off of Taxi. And in my opinion, I think everybody in the world's opinion, Christopher Lloyd was the best thing on Taxi.
He was. I agree.
And this is one of the results that he got from being so good on that show. Right.
Well, I mean, he was. I would probably say he was not meant to be a character that was supposed to be either on there very often or he might have been a one-off.
Well, yeah, the whole thing was to center around Andy Kaufman and Judd Hirsch.
Right.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
And they said Andy was such a prima donna.
Sure.
A lot of people can say they respect his comedy. I'm sorry, folks. If you're a jerk, I don't have no respect for you. I don't care how you do your comedy, whatever. Oh, you're such an artist, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. There's tact. All right? And there's professionalism. And let me tell you what happens. You get someone like Christopher Lloyd can step up to the plate.
He got voted off of SNL.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's like, what Christopher Lloyd did, you don't want to do it. This dude can, and he does, and he steps up the plate and he delivers.
Well, that's the thing. Lloyd showed himself to be a person that could do characters.
Yeah.
And which later on, when he just doesn't do characters, you almost feel cheated, but still at the same time, you can see he's a good actor. I mean, but that's neither.
Okay, and honest opinion on the Star Trek 3, this is the only one that I will use the adjective pain for. The rest of these, I pretty much can endure, but that's the only one it's hard for me to sit through. And I think a lot of it is because of weak presentation. I don't know if it's a lot because DeForest Kelley has a large part in it, and he's not that great a presenter. I don't think this is his kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I wouldn't have picked him to be Spock's vessel.
Right. Wessel.
No, I wouldn't have used him either. I would have used
This is Spock's Wessel.
I probably would have used. Well, I'm not sure I could use Kirk either. But I mean, is that
Lieutenant?
it's possible. It's possible.
But we'll get into this. All right,
that would stretch her acting ability to see how good she was.
I hate saying like pain because, but
yeah.
Any of these other films on here, I will say, if I have a choice to watch them, I would sit down and watch them again right now because I enjoy them so much. Like I said, a lot of it is I was sitting there thinking about how these people obsess over Kim Kardashian and the whole Kardashian and something. These
next time I watch it, I'm going to watch mine without the fourth one.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
And you'll be lost when you watch the fifth one.
No. The fifth one's great. But go ahead.
But like I said, they said, I was sitting there talking about, how people talk about the Kardashians and that's what they talk about. I talk about these movies and these people more, and they're far more interesting to me than anything and what they did for these films because I got a lot of great respect. It's like, and that I'm disappointed that 3 had such great potential. You've got so many things going in 3.
Yeah.
And it just was not executed very well to keep your interest. And a lot of people say another thing too is because Christopher Lloyd became Doc Brown the next year, that it really is offsetting to them. Like it's hard to take him seriously as this clean because he's not playing a real villain. I don't know how to say it. Regarding that. All right, so That's my worst pick.
If I were to actually rank these movies, I'd rank them 1 through 5, and the. This is how bad I hate the fourth one. It would be ranked 10th worst.
Let it go, man. Let it go.
But yeah, okay. So for the fifth one, this was one I hated to put on here like this.
Yeah.
But you just can't. But like I said,
It's tough to pick.
But I said the other five.
When you
I can't say I hated it.
The biggest struggle for me was picking the first three.
Really?
The best three, because they're so of those three, they're good in their own format.
Yeah.
You know, in their own form. So
but I had to go with the motion picture.
You thought it was the second worst.
Well,
I mean the fifth best.
It's the fifth best.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It really. Well, let me just read what I wrote on this. Okay,
Yeah.
This is the movie that most people would call boring.
Right.
Because it's not an action movie. We know that. It's also the movie with the confusing uniforms.
Okay.
Furthermore, it's based on an episode from the series called The Change. Actually, it's based on 2 episodes. There's another episode. No, I take that back. No. I'm thinking something else. Okay, no, man. I'm getting ahead of myself. So logic would concur that it's a poor example of a movie. That's what they would say. Okay. Having said all that, I defend it as a very good movie.
Right.
First off, it's a beautiful movie, allowing us to see Star Trek better than we've ever saw it before.
Right.
Because you get this when they show the Enterprise. That's what
I'm trying to say. I get emotions. Now, that's the thing that kills me
Get
is
the emotion off of that.
why did the third one, when the destruction of the ship, should have been just as emotional as when they leave port.
Well, yeah, but it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with us. It was our emotion. Because there was nobody around. They were just showing this. And that's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of people, like I said, they look, it's a boring film. No, you don't get it.
Yeah.
It's a chance for us to see. I mean, when a Star Trek fan that had waited so long for a Star Trek movie sat in that movie theater and watched Star Trek Enterprise.
Right.
And as they didn't sit there and just go, there it is. No, it takes its time. Mm-hmm. And we're taking all this in. And it's that's special effects. I'm telling you right now, that is special effects.
Well, yeah.
You believe that this was, you could believe that this was real.
I've ranked it more than just that. I've said to you is that it's one of those films that needs to be revisited again. Because, and of course, I probably like it better than you, but I have my reasons.
No, I don't think you do, because I was saying these 5 they were hard to they were hard to do. But then some of the set designs were really good as well. And but I did like some of the uniforms. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they had went with I like the grays and the blues. Those were really, really good. Because I think white and the blue and the gray. That's what I would have taken those 2 colors and made the thing. But of course, I mean, and again, on the big screen, those would have made a difference. That's why they wouldn't have done it on the series, because white and gray and blue probably would have been harder to differentiate. But on the big screen, that's what I'm saying. This was different. This had a chance. Okay, but my biggest complaint is the biggest constant was the constant costume change. And I like the original series that the colors meant something. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I would have taken those. That we brought in original cast members that that we got to see.
Percy
Chapel and
Stephen
Rand.
Collins.
They both came in. And I'm sitting there, did their thing, and that was great. And then we see, then they bring in Stephen Collins.
Yeah.
And I like Stephen Collins a lot. And the Deckard character was supposed to be kind of like, I think, Kirk.
Well,
Point two.
Here's another thing too.
Because he was.
You got to imagine, like I said, you haven't seen this crew in 10 years.
Right.
All right, and you know, we already knew the issues with
Sure.
royalties and things like that. I think that was great if you were in the audience at the time, because many people probably thought that Collins was going to replace
Right.
William Shatner.
Right.
And it's like, well, why not? If Shatner gets bigger roles, and like I said, there was issues of bringing Leonard Nimoy back because he had to be paid his full royalties before they could come back. Then he had to approve the script. But on top of that, Shatner had to approve the script. Roddenberry had to approve the script. And that's the reason why the first person had to go was Roddenberry.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, as people don't know, is about the most favored nation clause, which was whatever Shatner got, Nimoy got, whatever Nimoy got, Shatner got, and that was already started back in the OST. So if Nimoy got settled for royalties for motion picture, then Shatner would have got settled for royalties as well. But that was the clause, most favored nation clause.
Right.
And that, of course, brought them on. And as we know, it was hard to get Nimoy back. It was pretty, that Shatner was on board from day one. Roddenberry, of course, had his fingers in it, but after this changed a lot. Regarding the motion picture, Percy Cabalas, a lot of people don't know, they had to pay her lots of money to remove her hair, and they said that it was very emotionally damaging the first time, but she had to have her head shaved every day. It was tough for her to agree to that. Stephen Collins was an unknown.
Right.
And but he was very likable, and to have such a big role for such a small, for an actor no one heard of, and a lot of it too came like phase 2, but this, to me, was, I've seen pictures of phase 2. Phase 2, of course, didn't happen,
Right.
But 75 they were already making a film, but then they said, well, let's do a TV series because they couldn't settle on a script, but then when Close Encounters came out, they were like, look, we got to do something.
Right.
I think Star Wars was like, well, that's just a fantasy film. But when Close Encounters was a big hit, they were like, well, you don't have to have fantasy to sell this science fiction.
Yes, because Close Encounters was taking sci-fi seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas Star Wars, while it'll go down in history, probably one of the greatest science fiction movies ever.
Yeah.
But bottom line, like I said, it's fantasy.
Yeah. Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon.
Yeah, right. It's all about the heroism, and it could be said at any time. But it's just just a good story.
Sell toys.
Good storytelling. Yeah. Well, but it's.
They try to sell toys with this one.
Yeah. Which we could get into that too.
Yeah.
It's like every other movie, the toys weren't out, and every other movie, the movies did good. So that's good. If you're a serious Star Trek fan, you appreciate the padding because again, it's like eating a good steak.
Yeah.
Now you can take it, and I'm sure there's some people that do this. They take the steak.
Yeah.
And then pretty much just throw the whole steak in their mouth and just and then it's down. The best way to eat a steak is chew it and enjoy it and savor it.
Well, like I said,
and that's what we got to do with this movie with the padding. The padding is never, I don't think is ever.
That's the reason I tell people to revisit it because it's not. Right. And like I said, I've watched 2000.
Especially when you get a little older. When you're a kid,
Well, you don't get it because you're a kid. And the thing is, like, when you watch, like, in comparison, like I said, people say, well, it went the route of 2001 Space Odyssey. Yeah. And granted, it did. But the thing is, is Star Trek influenced all these things. It's like it influenced the 2001 Space Odyssey. It influenced the Planet of the Apes and the interest in things like that.
Yeah.
Those things would not have been if the success of Star Trek. And people say, why did Star Trek get out there? Because of they were getting rid of all the violence on television, because violence is what killed Robert F. Kennedy. Violence is what killed Martin Luther King Jr. So we get rid of Batman, the Avengers, Star Trek, and Wild Wild West. That all the violence in the world would be ended. And soon as they did, no one shot no one ever again after Star Trek was canceled. There was never a murder ever, because they took Star Trek up there. But that was what they were thinking. And sadly, Roddenberry suffered for it. The entire crew of Star Trek suffered for it. The actors did. It's because of people's get up and rise and, little thing here and there. Anything else? What about the music for the motion picture? It's the same music for Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, yeah. I was saying I can't say anything against that either. I mean, it's just that's what I'm saying. It's the whole package. Like I said, when you take it, here's the difference. Let's say we take the motion picture as a nice picture on the wall. A nice by a nice artist that's not granted, maybe it's not worth a whole lot. But when you look at that picture, the skill and ability that person put in that film. I mean that picture. And that's the same thing with this. The skill and ability. That there was, like I said, we went and got a good person to make this score. We didn't just let's just go get Joe's brother and his Casio keyboard. No. We got, this big, because everybody was doing that at that time anyways. I mean, the Superman, the Star Wars, all these were all really, the whole, the soundtrack had to just grab you. So, I'm glad they did that. I mean, they could have went another way.
Well, the thing is that people don't
understand. And then, like you said, it's endured to be the same thing as they used.
Horner, he did a lot of war movies and that kind of thing, which were really big soundtracks. But another thing is, this director also directed The Day the Earth Stood Still. And I think that's what people was in mind. Because you watch Day the Earth Stood Still,
again, it's not
one of these movies where it's Independence Day and Will Smith is going to go kick E.T.'s rear. It's basically a thinking man's science fiction movie. And that's what this movie is. The thing is, I like about this versus, like, say, 2001 Space Odyssey is I feel like you get lost, it's confusing, there's no really ending to it. This movie has a nice little setup. And like I said, if you were during that time watching this movie, you were thinking, is Stephen Collins going to replace him? What's Voyager? You stick to, because the mystery is what Voyager is. And you stick to this kind of, you're hung through the entire film wanting to know the mystery. And we're on that ship. Another thing, too, is the acting of Leonard Nimoy at the time is he's trying to find something and he don't know what he's looking for. And he gets on that ship and
it basically becomes a little bit of a detective story as well.
Right. Well, the point is, one scene, William Shatner is telling him to sit down. And you watch that scene, you feel like Shatner. Sit down. Where have you been? What have you done? Where have you? And he's not even in tune to anything. I mean, Michelle, the lady who's playing Lieutenant is saying, she's saying something to me. He don't even recognize her.
Michelle.
He's just basically, get to business, I'm here there, because he's trying to find something with himself. And that's another thing that it gets into, as well as, like, the opening of Voyager is actually an aperture of a camera. That's exactly what it looks like. And there's so many things you could take from it. Now, if you're a Freudian, you're thinking, well, that's vagina. Me, I'm a director and a cameraman. That's a camera.
Yeah.
And an artist and a director trying to create something. Why do people want to create something? It just depends how you look at it.
Right.
What angle, what are you looking at the visuals? And every visual is very important. And I think these visuals, if you take Geiger's German S&M visuals that he does for Alien, are nothing compared to what they're trying to convey because it's more artistic.
Yeah.
And there's so much, what do you call it, experimenting. Like, how do they create the, well, they tell you what to do. They take a tank, and they take food coloring, and they slowly, or they reverse it to get whatever shape they want in the space to create this visual, and then the story is told. So it is surreal. It is very grown up. It's not a kid's cartoon.
No.
Saturday Morning Fest. It's very philosophical, and however you want to take it, you can have that thing, but at the same time, it wraps itself up. Right. It doesn't leave you like 2001 Space Odyssey going, what did I just watch?
Right.
You know what you just watched. And it's a great opening for a series.
It's a great ending as well. I mean, it's just like I said, that's why when I look at it, I'm sitting here going, do you know this, how beautiful this movie is? Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it, but that's the thing too. I want to watch this movie. This is the first one I watched because I went through it in order. I look at it and I said, this movie is just beautiful.
It is.
And and you get sucked in. And it'll be a movie I'll watch over and over again.
Yeah, it is amazing, and the fight that they had and struggle they had to make everything that they made. There is a director's cut around to it. I don't know if it's better than the first one or not. Because he had his visions. So, what can I say? Now, for my fifth favorite, is the only one that I don't like because I really think Kirk is not the character that we've grown up with. I think, and that's because I don't feel that he's consistent. That's, of course, Undiscovered Country. I'm not too crazy about that. A lot of people like it because it connects Next Generations with the Star Trek, and of course Next Generation had come out, during when the fourth one came out, so Roddenberry would have something to do.
Yeah.
But this one I don't like. Like I said, I mean, as well as the others. I mean, like I said, there is a great visual where there's the assassination scene. I kind of like that. But I feel like Kirk's character as this, because they kind of portray him as this racist old dude who has to come out of his racism. And I understand, and again, the thing is, it just wasn't conveyed in the third one enough to see Kirk as this hateful guy. I feel like he's always was that guy who just did his job. That's what I see him as. And he does have his tight friendship with Spock, and you see that kind of stays the same in his friendship with that. And this is the first one too, to me, before all of them, where he really shows his age. And because there's just this, and of course the weird environment when they're thrown in the prison with, David Bowie's girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
Time. That is, I don't know if they're trying to sneak something in there, but it just is very uncomfortable. But regardless of that, it's my second least favorite of this series. And like I said, a lot of people think it's a great wrap up, but I think to me, the seventh one is a better wrap up. I feel like the seventh one kind of, I cleaned it up a little bit better.
Well, the seventh one, and that's why I didn't want to include this one. It's it's almost like, well, I mean, it's almost like the last episode of Enterprise.
Yeah.
Last episode of Enterprise, they bring in next generation characters to end this in the series, and that's what I think they're doing. They say, okay, well, we're gonna now close the door to. So it's, to me, it's just not. It doesn't. It's almost like he's a ghost.
Yeah.
Shatner's character Kirk is. It's almost like a ghost. He's not really part of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't really. I like the fact. I mean, when you look at the other movie, it's all about the whole. Because see, that's what's great about Enterprise. I mean, Enterprise, Star Trek, is that they could have went. It's Captain Kirk. He's the it's like Buck Rogers. It's about Buck Rogers. It's Flash Gordon. It's about Flash Gordon. Oh, there's his girl. No, this is about a captain and his crew. Now he has his.
Well, I mean, he wasn't the only one. Another thing that makes me so mad about the sixth one, and everybody has problems with, and she even argued with the director about this, is why in the world that she doesn't know Klingon, Lieutenant O'Hara doesn't. That really ticked me off too, and I can understand her fighting that. And it does bother me, that scene, every time in the sixth one. That's what I'm saying. The characters, and then another thing too, after the fourth one, the reason why I like the fourth one better, they had something to do.
Right.
But the sixth one, it's like, they're just up there, stuck up there with nothing to do, and Kirk and DeForest Kelledy is down in prison. And it's like, oh my goodness. And there are some funny parts where they take him out of prison when he's almost finding the thing. And it is a mystery kind of thing, but it just, I guess another take too, it wasn't like there was a world destroying issues, but a lot of people say, well, they're trying to get grounded, and like For Your Eyes only tries to ground the James Bond franchise. Right. I think Undiscovered Country was kind of in that, but man alive, you're ending the series too. I mean, the idea was that the Enterprise is going off in the sunset, right? Why aren't we going out in a big bang? But, and then like I said, I just didn't like the consistency of the characters. I felt like the characters, except for maybe Spock and maybe Bones, I mean, people don't have that much passion probably for Bones' character, but I felt like Kirk was out of character. I felt Lieutenant O'Hara was out of character. And the rest of the cast, they just didn't know what to do with them. It felt like, and I think Nimoy was by that time phoning it in.
What you're reflecting is what I felt about Voyage Home.
Yeah. Well, but the characters are fun though. I mean,
I didn't have fun with it.
Oh,
I didn't have fun.
I can see, but I mean, it was. I mean,
painful. It was
as silly as the movie is. It's
not silly. It's painful. That one, you talking about pain? That one was painful. Like I said, I will probably never watch the movie again.
Let it go, man. But that's my biggest beef with Undiscovered Country.
I don't have to.
And I say that those two really have more. Those are probably the only two that have more negatives than positives.